welcome to Just Talk Funerals with me, Jason Threadgold.
And me, Nichola Threadgold.
Just Talk Funerals is all about the funeral industry, the people that work alongside us, and an insight into what we do.
We will have some special guests along the way, sharing their experiences and how their professions overlap with what we do.
So get yourselves comfy, grab yourselves a cuppa, and let's get into today's episode of
Just Talk Funerals. Hello and welcome to a further episode of Just Talk Funerals, and today I'm here with Jason and we're going to be talking about when somebody comes into our care. So Jason, obviously as a funeral director I thought it'd be interesting for maybe you to answer these questions in terms of, you know, the process and what we do in terms of, you know, from that first initial call. So do you want to talk us through from the first initial call?
Okay, so it all depends where that call's really come from. So we say, for instance, if it's come from a member of the public, if they've rang through to say that they've lost a loved one, the initial conversation with us, it can be quite emotional for some people.
Yep.
We can kind of gauge that straight away. And not that this has ever been a thing where we've trained anybody to do this, but we kind of gauge when one of our team members is having a conversation with somebody that's just lost somebody. And we kind of get a feel for that, and sort of the mood in the room changes a little bit. Mm-hmm. So really the first call is somebody telling us that somebody's passed away. So on this first call, there's certain elements of information we need to capture. Mm. So obviously, first thing is, once we've sort of shown our condolences to the family, is the fact that what's the person's name? Mm. Are you a relative, friend?
Yep.
Who's next of kin? We need to start getting details like, where is the person?
Yep.
Was it expected, or has it come suddenly? Who's been and kind of verified that somebody's passed away? And what's your intention at this point? So are you at a point where you're ready for us to come and bring this person into our care? Do you need some more time? And it's not always an instant thing.
No.
Not everybody wants you to go straight away. Some people are just informing us to say that they've passed away, potentially in a home. Yeah. They may well tell us that they've passed away in a hospital, which means we're not going to be able to bring them into our care immediately. We're kind of in that process. Or it might be something that they've passed away on holiday, something like that. There's many, many scenarios what somebody can throw at you. Yeah. So I guess we've got to be able to adapt to whatever is asked of us at that point. So we don't know what's coming. Yeah. So we talk about a lot that we're proactive in everything that we plan. We have to be reactive in stuff like that when somebody makes that first call to us.
Yeah.
So sorry, you carry on.
I was just going to say as well, because we're talking about the first call as well, you know, we've had 11 years to perfect our first call in a sense, haven't we? So, you know, 11 years ago, it was just you and I on the phones. But now having a team of 27, it's like now, you know, we train them very well, don't we, in terms of answering the phone. And I think through our sort of training programme, that's probably one of the hardest things that people have to learn to do, isn't it? That initial first call. Yeah,
and it's not an easy thing either, because you don't know what's going to be thrown at you, whether it's emotion, tension, aggression. It could be all sorts of things, really.
Yeah.
And we do an awful lot of training on that. I know you especially do with a lot of the newbies. You do a lot of role play with them as well, and you go through different scenarios.
Yeah.
So no one conversation is the same as another.
No, but I would definitely say that through our training programme, that is one of the areas that we have to make sure that is perfect, don't we?
Yeah. And I think we do.
Yeah.
I genuinely think we do.
Yeah. Okay. So we've had the first call, and then what happens?
Again, if we're sticking with the same scenario, so say, for instance, it's somebody that's passed away at home, and the person is ready for us to attend.
Yeah.
If it's during the day, team members that are already at work, they would go. We always try as many times as possible to make sure that there's a funeral director is present on that first call. It's not always guaranteed. I mean, there's going to be occasions where logistically, if you want somebody instantly and all the directors are out either arranging, conducting, things, then they might not be able to be there. So
what is the reason why we ask for a funeral director to be there at all times?
we try our best to get continuity from day one. So you'll have your first contact with somebody, usually over the phone or if you've walked into one of our funeral homes. But then a funeral director would be appointed to you. And we really, really do try our hardest to make sure it's the same person all the way through. We know, again, that there's going to be occasions where it doesn't work, whether that be specific times people want funerals and it overlaps with that other person's commitments already. We try and tailor it so that everybody that gets the same funeral director from day one to the point where they've gone through the process. But like I say, it's not 100%, but we do try best with it.
And we do get a lot of comments, don't we, from people that will say, oh, you were the person that took Dad into your care because I was at home when you came, which is a great start of a relationship and building that relationship of trust, isn't it?
Yeah, because that funeral director and the people that are working the buddy alongside the funeral director, they've potentially stepped into your house and at the rawest point in your life where you've lost somebody, and we come with a comforting arm, we're talking quite empathetically towards you and gathering information in such a way that we need to get certain stuff down on paper so we know what we're doing, but not pressurising you. And a lot can be taken from that first initial contact as you carry it on through the process.
Okay.
If it's, say, for instance, a care home, you might not have all the family members there, so it may well be the carers from the care home. It's exactly the same process. We go through, we question the information that we need, and the same sort of mirrors it in all locations that we go to, even if it's like hospices. If we're approached by the coroners or the police officers, there's stuff that we need to get down on paper. So that's your initial contact. From then, we need to establish, if it's in somebody's property, how we're going to take that person out of the property. So we need to, number one, do a risk assessment. People wouldn't know this, but we're looking around your house, we're looking for trip hazards, we're looking for the best, we'll call it escape route, if you want to call it that, so the best way we can get out of the premises, and the best way to physically manual handle somebody from where they are into our vehicle. And usually if it's a private residence, that would be a hearse that we have outside. So people will know them. The white estate cars, when you open them up, they look like a hearse inside. So they're quite discreet. But somebody's in potentially a bedroom a lot of the time. They're upstairs. Challenging things for us can be stair lifts if they're in the way. Thin corridors. Most people's landings, the kind of design so that you walk across a landing, then you turn into a room. To bring somebody out that's potentially 5 foot upwards majority of the time, you need to be able to manoeuvre them so that you can get out, and you can't turn corners like that, so you have to stand people up. So when I say stand people up, we take in equipment with us. So we have stretchers which are collapsible. So we would come in with a stretcher that just looks like a big rectangular piece of equipment. When we're in the area in the building that we need to lay that stretcher down, it then folds out, the legs come out, the footrest comes out, straps are out, and then you have a liner which goes over the top of there to put the person onto. We use that as a little bit of a barrier, if you want to say. Sadly, there are occasions where when somebody's passed away, they might excrete some fluid. So we have to protect everybody and everything around us. So we'd use a barrier sheet there. And then we lift the person onto the stretcher. So there's always a minimum of 2 of us there, especially when it's in somebody's house. And we need to manoeuvre them from the point where they've passed away onto that piece of equipment, so a stretcher. Once they're on that stretcher, the cloth that we've laid on, the barrier cloth, that will then wrap around them and have like a seat belt fitting that goes across the tops of the legs and across the chest, and then that just secures them comfortably on there so that we know there'll be no movement. And if their feet are literally touching, it's like it's a pop-up footboard, if you want, on the end of the stretcher,
plate, isn't it?
So that people won't move that little bit further down the stretcher, so we know that everything's going to be secure. and then we have to cover people over. This is really tricky how we do this, especially if there's people want to stay in the room when we're witnessing this. And I had a baptism of fire many years ago where I kind of, not that I said I wasn't trained right, I just, the way it was done, I think needed to be modified. Whereas funeral directors, they will come in and they will put the cover over the person. And I happened to go to a children's hospice, sadly, one time, and I did the process. This is 20 odd years ago. Carried it through exactly the same as we're talking now, but with a bigger upright stretcher. And I put the cover over this child, and one of the care staff got really upset and left the room. And then it was shortly after that, the company I was working for at the time, they had a conversation with this hospice, and they wanted us to re-look at our process of what we do there. So without a doubt, 100% now, if there is somebody else in the room that is witnessing what we're doing, we will always ask them, are you comfortable with us covering them over now? Because it was the assumption, I guess, in olden times that people knew what you were going to do, I guess. And it's that finality of somebody's literally gone and you've lost that kind of vision of the face. So I learned quickly and hard with that one. So now literally every time, if there's somebody in the room, you always say that to somebody. And then we need to manoeuvre them from where they are out of the property. So if there isn't a stair lift in the way, makes it so much better. But if there is one, there are ways of positioning it so that it's out of the way. And usually if you look at a stair lift, it's got like a little extra bit at the bottom or the top where the people get on and get off. Move it into that position, but look at what else is around you, where you're going to be exiting the staircase and that sort of thing. So just make sure it's out of the way. And usually they fold up a little bit so they're out of the way. So two of you, a minimum of two of you would need to bring them down the stairs. One person always goes to the, we're going to call this the foot end of the stretcher, and one person always goes to the head end of the stretcher. This is where your manual handling starts to really come into action. And people can be many different sizes. You can be ultra thin, you can be super bariatric. We need to manage that, and we manage that by the amount of person power that we bring in to that. Because the scenario is wherever they passed away, we need to move them, and we need to do it in the most discreet and most sensible way we can. So we need to make our way out the room, potentially down the stairs. So we will have stood the stretcher up with the person covered over. I tend to, it makes it a little bit easier for me. I kind of not cuddle the person, but as I've stood them up, it's easier for me to motion them around corners by putting my arms. I'm at the back of the stretcher at this point. I'll put my arms around the front of the stretcher and kind of cuddle them, lift them up and turn the corner until we're in a position where we can then lower that stretcher back down to its kind of, I get my horizontals and verticals mixed up, so it's level with the floor. And then we need to start coming down the stairs. So one person stays at the head end. Now, this is the person that's going to take the majority of the weight at this point, so they've got to be physically able. There's two handles underneath the stretcher that you can always keep a good grip of. The person that's at the foot end, they will be kind of guiding you down the staircase. So it might be one stair at a time. It might be they feel comfortable walking the whole length of the staircase in one go. But that element, there is genuinely no rush. The last thing you want to be doing is rushing as you're bringing somebody down the staircase. Take your time. If you need to stop, you stop. Most of the time, family, friends, they're in another room. You do get the odd occasion where people want to witness you doing everything, which is fine. We've no issue with that. And then once you're down onto flat ground again, it's then you will have already planned your route where you're coming out of the house. You'll make sure that all your doors are open, which way you go in. If there's animals in the house, make sure they're secured in another room, that kind of thing. And if there are any trip hazards that you've established on that route, you'll have asked permission if you can move them. Or if it's something like a linen basket or something, you will have just moved it anyway, so it's out of the way. Carry that person out into your vehicle, which 9 times out of 10 was going to be a hearset. And then you would close that vehicle down. I don't know why, we just do it. We just stand there like attention as the boot comes down on that. Once it's secured, we'd then make our way back into the property and would let the family aware that we're sort of making our way off now if they've got any other questions.
Yeah.
But we'd have already had conversation with them about where you want us to take them, what wants to happen.
Yeah.
We'll be back in contact. We'll have gained everything that we need prior to us physically moving the person.
When you say where we're going to take them, in terms of which office, because obviously we've got 5, haven't we?
Yeah. So we might be kind of within a catchment area for one chapel arrest, but they might want them at a different chapel arrest.
Assume,
so it's always that question. Say, for instance, if we're in North Kelsey, for instance, it's a village. You're smack bang in the middle between our Brig office and our Caister office. Yeah. So we would ask that question: which one are you wanting? Because at that point we wouldn't necessarily know.
Yeah.
So we want to tailor it to each person, and they get the choice.
Okay. I was going to ask you about respect of the deceased as we go through, collecting this person from whichever location and bringing them into our care. And you've obviously mentioned around, getting permission around covering faces, and you've mentioned around when the boot closes that both you and the buddy will stand and just, I guess, as a mark of respect.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that we do in terms of respect?
You've always got to be mindful that not everybody's potentially going to be fully clothed when you collect them.
Yeah.
People might be in any form of undress.
Yeah.
So it's being mindful of their dignity in the sense of trying to cover things so that so that we're not having to see this person in this state. Yeah. We don't want families thinking that we're going to be taking somebody in that. Yeah. So there are occasions where people have already told us that they're not dressed. We'll put some pyjamas out for you, so we'll dress them before we leave the property. It's just protecting people's dignity, I think, is a massive thing for us.
Yeah.
And not allowing that dignity to slip in death as you wouldn't allow it to slip in life, really.
Yeah. And I think it's quite nice for us because we have a variation in both funeral directors and those that are buddies that come out in terms of both
male and female. Yeah.
Don't we? So I guess in that respect, that's quite nice.
It can, and especially when you come to multicultural services.
Yes, of course.
Because there's a lot of people within like the Sikh, Hindu, Muslim community.
Yeah.
It would be frowned upon if, say, for instance, a gentleman were to see a lady in any form of undress, especially within that. So our female team would step in there. Equally, it would be the same if it was a man.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't want the ladies getting involved in that. So it would all be men that did that.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be sexist or discriminating. It's being respectful of another person's religion and faith.
Yeah.
And we kind of want to follow through and be as respectful as we can when it comes to that.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously we've brought somebody to our funeral home, and let's talk about identity and safeguarding of that person and care of that person once they arrive at our funeral home. What happens there?
Okay, so we'll have brought the person to the relevant building. At majority of our buildings, we have rear access to the properties. There's a couple where we have front access. Yep. So we have to get as close as we can to them doors with our vehicles, but the majority of people go to our funeral homes that have rear access. So we'll make our way to that area.
Yeah.
Bring that person into our mortuary area. We're going to have to use this word mortuary because it's all part and parcel of a funeral home.
Yeah.
And it's a dedicated area that's put aside for the care and preparation of somebody that's passed away.
Yeah.
So you'll come into this environment. All of these environments are coded, so you can't get into them unless you've got door codes. The thing that we're going to be changing soon that is becoming so that we'll be having fobs.
Yeah.
So it'll only be authorised people with fobs can get in there. And it's secured at every entrance. Most mortuaries have at least 2, if not 3 entrances. All of them have codes. Not one of them is the same code.
Oh.
So they're all different. So that does make it that little bit harder. But nobody would have them codes anyway, other than people that are working in our team.
Yeah.
So they're brought in. we then need to go through our formal process of how we book that person into our care.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked about this in a previous episode, but we have a system called Seeker where we've logged details about the person. That will have already been done before we actually get to the person's
That's our
residence.
Electronic.
Yeah, so that's the electronic one.
Yeah.
So as we go through the process, as we as funeral directors are there, there's a section where we go into it where we mark that we've made our way to the property. We then mark that the person's been collected, and then the third point is we mark the point that the person's been taken to the relevant funeral home.
Yeah.
So that's dealt with. So that's the electronic side of it. Paper side, because we always keep a backup. So we have a mortuary log ledger, if you like. So on here we put the full person's name, date of birth, date of passing, rough time of passing at that point goes in there, and we log any jewellery or possessions that the person's come into our care with, so that we've got a record of that. That equally is mirrored on the Seeker system as well.
Because I think, it's probably wise to establish, isn't it, when we bring somebody from a hospital setting, they could have a lot of property with them, couldn't they?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most people, when they've passed away at home, will have had the conversation that, is any of this coming with them, or is any of it staying here? Sometimes jewellery's taken off. But we need to keep a record of that, don't we? So that's part and parcel of that element.
Yeah.
We then, much like you would in a hospital, we need to put some form of identification onto this person.
Yeah.
So people will know what a risk tag is.
Yeah.
So it's something that's connected to you if you're either in a hospital or if you're on a all-inclusive holiday, something like that. But we have key information on there, and there's 3 points that we have to have on there. So we always need the person's full name.
Yeah.
We need the date of birth, and then we need where they've passed away. Contentious whether you put on there the date of death, because at that point it's an assumption.
Yeah.
So we can't put date of death on there. And there's going to be the odd occasion where you've got people with very similar names.
Yeah.
So we highlight that with different use of colour.
Yeah.
So we'll have different colours on the banding, we'll have different colours on our mortuary refrigeration, which show that we've got somebody with a similar name, if not an identical name.
Yeah.
And then that's just all about identification purposes.
Can I just retrack a little bit towards risk tags? Because I know this is something in the 11 years we've been in business, it's been a bit of a tricky one, hasn't it? Because, we get families that will come into view, and then they'll come out and they'll say, can you take that risk tag off? And as much as we would like, it's very difficult, isn't it? Because that tag is on them for a reason, isn't it? It's very important that, at all times there is identification on them. Yeah,
and it is. And I mean, we try to show identification in many different ways.
Yeah.
The risk tag is a key one. I'll come back to that in a minute. But not that everybody would know this, but there's always a marker on the coffin.
Yeah.
So we know.
Yeah.
So you've got somebody in a coffin, potentially, if they're coming to see somebody. There's a marker on the coffin.
Yeah.
There's a risk tag on the person. There's a marker on the lid of the coffin, if not 2 markers on the lid of the coffin.
Yeah.
So we know, for continuity's sake, that this is the right person, it's the right coffin, everything's correct.
Yeah.
But the risk tag itself, it's so tricky, because much as we might have gained a relationship with you as a family, and we've seen you, we've seen the person that's passed away, that's maybe a few of us.
Yeah.
In a team of 27 people,
yeah,
I can't expect all them 27 people to literally know what every person that's in our care looks like without some form of physical identification on them. Yeah. And I mean, at times we can be doing upwards 30, 40 funerals at a time.
Yeah.
I can't expect everybody, so it has to stay there.
Yeah.
And it really is a legal obligation for it to be there.
Yeah.
I've had people come and say that I've cut this off while I was in there, and we have to then explain to them that I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to put another one back on, because we've got to protect you as a family, and equally we've got to protect ourselves as well, that we're getting everything right, and it is all key about identification. Yeah. We don't want... We all know what happened in Hull, and that was a problem about identification. We're never going to put ourselves in that position where we couldn't identify somebody.
Yeah, and I think as well, where doctors have visited our premises, you know, if they don't see a wristband on, you know, they can get very...
You can't expect a doctor to know all their patients. Might be
Yeah,
thousands
exactly.
on their books.
So, you know, it's the continuity for doctors coming as well, isn't it? They've got to have some way of identifying that person.
Yeah.
So it's not just for us, it's for others as well, isn't it, in terms of legal...
Yeah, and I mean, if you bring somebody into your care that's probably been within a hospital or a hospice, majority of the time they will already have a wrist tag on.
Yeah.
It's only where somebody's passed away potentially in the community or a care home that we would need to physically do that.
Yeah.
And it is a legal obligation, and it's to protect everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of how do you think we balance like the technical requirements of some things against our care and the emotional care? Because I think sometimes, you know, there's rules, isn't there? But it's like we have to obviously make sure that we are emotionally caring for, you know, the families of deceased that are coming in. And it's hard sometimes, isn't it? Because there are rules we have to abide by, but at the same time we want to make sure that people feel comfortable.
Yeah, are we talking more so in the preparation of somebody or at the point where the preparation?
Well, both really, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's elements of that where I'll bring manual handling back into it again. We can have all the manual handling training you want in the world, but then you're maybe going to put in a scenario where it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to do that risk assessment, adapt to it, and make sure that you're looking after that person in the right way, even if it is sadly at the detriment of following procedure, if you like. You've got to make it work.
Yeah.
There's never a point where we would leave somebody or say we can't move them or we can't do this because of this.
Yeah.
So there's that element. And I guess if you're talking about protecting people, being flexible on things, we're a company that doesn't say no to anything. We know this, don't we? So if there's something that needs to be done that is maybe questionable, we'll look at the ethics behind it. And as long as we're not breaking any laws and we're doing it for the benefit of everybody concerned, then I think we'll look after everybody's welfare.
Yeah, okay. And obviously we bring these people into our care, and then, you know, how does that sort of tie in with keeping families updated?
Okay.
Because, you know, sometimes, you know, families, you know, they've said goodbye and we've driven off with their loved one, haven't we? And it's so important then that we've got that continuity of making sure that we keep in touch with them, isn't it? Especially in the early stages.
I think it's keep the conversations flowing all the time. Don't leave somebody there sat in limbo thinking nothing's happening. So when somebody's brought into our care, at that point it's kind of dealt with. Usually would then have a conversation. I would prompt them that we're going to be having a conversation with you in the next sort of 24, 48 hours about getting together, having a chat about what you want to happen. The introduction of the medical examiner last year has kind of slowed things down a little bit, so not everybody's as quick to want to have them conversations now because they're conscious that in their minds they can't really move on until they've registered somebody's death.
But they can.
They can.
Yeah.
So it's sort of educating people that it's maybe worth having the conversations, then you're more likely to get exactly what you want, especially when it comes to booking times for crematoriums and cemeteries. The sooner we start having conversations, it gives us more time frame to work around that. But keep having the conversations all the time about what's happening. And we have set people within the business do set things, and they all know what they need to do. It's like when somebody we know has been dressed so that they're ready, they're prepared to start taking visitors if people want to visit. We have a member of the team, they would ring this family, talk them through that process, make them aware that they can visit. If they want to start booking appointments, they can start doing that. And again, make them aware that it's a 24-hour service. It's not something that stops at 5:30 when the office physically closes. A lot of viewings of people that have passed away happen at night time and weekends. And we're just there to facilitate that, really, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And what about, you know, let's touch a little bit about, you know, when we get a deceased into our funeral home, And there is some preparation to do, isn't there? Because sometimes, especially if they're coming from maybe a hospital environment where they've been really poorly, at that point, they're not ready to view, are they? So there's a lot of work needs to be done around preparing them, possibly washing them, and the presentation of a deceased.
Yeah, it's called last offices is the sort of terminology that's used for it. As a lot of people will know, that we don't embalm people unless people are pretty specific and adamant that we will.
Yeah.
We chose this as members of the National Association of Grieving Funeral Directors, that we signed their charter saying that we wouldn't do that because of the effect on Mother Earth. Yeah. So embalming isn't a big thing for us, but body preparation is, and it can sometimes be as simple as the person has a shower, the hair done and redressed. Other times it can be full hair and makeup, and sadly there's other times where it's reconstruction.
Yeah.
So it can be many different things happen within a mortuary setting at a funeral home.
Yeah.
And it's having the right team members on board that can cope with whatever situation's put in front of them.
Yeah.
And if it isn't something that we can do, which is very, very rare, then bringing in the right person that can do that.
Yeah.
And there's specialist people for specialist things in the world.
Yeah.
So it's called last offices. Some people call it first offices actually, but last offices for us. So it's the last thing that you can do for somebody as you prepare them ready for their funeral ceremony.
But we don't always necessarily do all of that prep either, do we?
No.
Because obviously if we're dealing with different cultures,
Definitely so, yeah.
we very much embrace the fact that other cultures may come into our mortuary setting.
Yeah, and we are a multi-faith community. We have such an amazing relationship, especially with one of the Sikh temples in Scunthorpe, and their family members, along with the Hindus and the Muslims, will come in.
Yep.
They'll wash and prepare that person, and it depends on the religion when they do that.
Yeah.
Some do that pretty much immediately. Some will do it the night before a funeral, and then some will do it literally the morning of the funeral. So they go through their own rituals and their own time frames. So we adapt our working day to fit around them, because when they come in, it might be half a day. It might just be an hour, but we set that time aside and make sure that it's their own private space, so that they can do what they need to do. And if they need our assistance, because not every family has people that can step in and take that role, especially when you need to physically move somebody from washing preparation into a coffin, then they don't necessarily have the manpower or the skill to be able to do that correctly. So again, it comes back to this male-female thing. If it's a lady, then our female team members, they're all trained. Even our administrators, they'll get involved in that, in how to lift and lower somebody into a coffin, and much the same for men. I must admit, for the male Islamic funerals, it's not so much a thing, because usually they come with quite a lot of people with them. It's usually when the females come, there's probably only 3 or 4 come to do that. So the ladies, as you'll know, get involved in that more.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's given a great insight today into when somebody comes into our care. Thank you very much for that knowledge.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you again soon.
Take care. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Just Talk Funerals.
We really care about what you think. We'd love your feedback on the subjects raised today, or maybe you have a question you would like us to talk about in a future episode. You can contact us by emailing podcast@threadgoldfunerals.com.
If you'd like to know more about what we do and the services we offer, then please head to jasonthreadgoldfuneraldirector.com. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next time.